Hello and good morning. Welcome to today's session, Domino V12 Security Preview. My name is Thomas Hampel. I'm the host of today's session. And with me today, I have my colleague and friend and partner, Daniel Nashed. Daniel, can you just say hello to the audience quickly?
Good morning, everyone. I'm really enjoying to be here. I would really like to meet you live, but this is not possible this year, but hopefully next year. But we're still having a good presentation, and I hope you like it.
All right, and as you can see, I'm Thomas Hampel. I'm the director at Product Management, responsible for the Domino server, Nomad, and all things security related. Today, we are going to talk about a number of security features in Domino V12. And that's why I also have to include this legal slide, because we are talking about the future, about things that may happen and they can change slightly. So please be aware of that. Yeah, so let's get started. Maybe by looking back. Last year at RNUG 2019, I was giving a presentation about Domino Security, which was a more technical presentation on all the settings that you need to be aware of in order to configure your Domino server correctly. The people in the community also know that there are a number of IBM Red Books, very big Red Books explaining the settings that you have to deploy in your environment to be perfectly up and running. And that used to be the situation for a number of years. Now, next year, we are going to release Domino V12. And in V12, we would like to do a few things different. We want to do a few things better than before. And security being one of the biggest biggest items in the IT environment, we of course have a strong focus on security. Also, we don't want you to wait till next year. We want you to already start testing the new features already now. And this is why earlier this year, we have introduced a new program. It's called the Domino Early Access Program. You can read more details if you scan the QR code. The Domino Early Access Program is not a new software. It is a way to access the new version of Domino earlier on. It's like a preview version that already contains some of the functionalities that we are going to ship in Domino V12 and beyond. This is available free of charge to all existing customers. So if you are a customer, you just have to log on to our download portal called FlexNet. And there you can find a new category called beta software. And in there, you can find a zip file or a download, which is a Domino server packaged up as a Docker container. And this already contains latest and greatest features. We release this container, we release this program every couple of weeks because there are a number of new features that we are adding as we go along. We call these releases, we call them code drops. And the idea is that you can download these code drops and start testing them in your environment live to experience the new features, the new capabilities, and provide us feedback very, very early in the development cycle. So you don't have to wait till next year to see some of the great improvements of the product. And let me just underline this. Domino Early Access Program is provided as a Docker image, but of course, Domino V12 will be provided as a traditional installation later on. We were only using Docker to provide this functionality as quick as possible to you. So it just takes a couple of seconds to turn this image into a fully working environment.
And Thomas, tomorrow we will show live how that works, right, in our Docker session.
Good reminder. So yeah, tomorrow join the Domino Docker session for more technical details. Today, it's about all the security features. And Daniel and me have providing you with a number of examples of what you can expect. Let's start with one of the features that was highly requested in the Domino community, which was to enhance the authentication to Domino using two-factor authentication. TOTP is the abbreviation for time-based one-time password. It's a very complicated name, but you are all using this already now with other software, with other platforms. So that means when you log into Domino Web Services, when you log into the HTTP task, you will then use your mobile app and an app-based authentication system like Google Authenticator, like Auth. There are many other applications that can provide the two-factor authentication code. And you would use this code on your Domino server to log in. I have prepared a small demo showing you how easy it is for an end user to configure a new smartphone, a new device, and do the connection between your user account and your smartphone. So let me quickly play this here. What you see on the left side is the HTTP login screen to Domino, and on the right-hand side, you can see the smartphone where I'm sharing my screen. I have installed a two-factor authentication app. And now what I have to do is I have to log in. And since I never did a two-factor authentication before here, I first have to do set up multi-factor authentication. When clicking on that link, it's asking me, hey, give me a name for the device so that I can find it later on. So in this case, smartphone demo. Let me click OK. And then I'm presented with a link or a QR code that I have to get to my mobile phone. I can, of course, type this or copy this, but the easiest is to scan the QR code. That's what I'm going to do. So I open the application, I click this little plus sign at the very top right. And then when clicking on that plus sign, you'll see scan QR code or enter code manually. I'm going to choose scan QR code, and this will activate the camera on my device. So you're going to see my desktop over here. And as soon as the cameras will spot the QR code, it will perform the configuration. So see, that was everything. I have to confirm the first code into the validate field. And as a result, I'm getting some emergency scratch codes that I should store in a secure location. This is for emergency situations when I, for instance, have lost my phone. Yeah, and with that, all I have to do is use username and password, and then as a third element, enter the QR code that is displayed in the smartphone app to log into my HCLverse server or Domino server as you want. So you see, it is really, really easy. Maybe Daniel, can you add some more information for our administrators here on the call on how to configure it?
Yes, sure. So I put together a very short info how you would do that. This is really the outline. All the technical details are already online on the website. So this early access program comes with full documentation. So for every new feature, you will have details about how to configure it. And I just highlighted the main steps. So because this new feature works in combination with information stored in the ID vault to make it extra secure. We have to generate a trust certificate. This is really very similar to what you already know for having password reset certificates. The second point is that you have to configure your configuration document. The security tab has some new fields that you have to change. This is what you see below on the screen. And on the top of the screen, you see the sections that you need to change to enable this new authentication instead of username and password. And there's one more thing that you have to have configured before. It's that you have to use a session-based authentication, because the form that is used and that has Thomas shown in the demo is not the basic authentication form, but the form where you type in your password is a custom form. So that's basically what you have to do, Thomas. That's all you need.
Sounds very simple, very straightforward to me. What would you say, how long will it take for an administrator to enable all of this?
I would say 10 minutes, and the time to check for the ID Vault password, that could be an hour or two.
So
No,
really
10
time well spent, 10 minutes to better secure your environment. So dear administrators and customers out there, please take a look at this. This is really interesting. All right. We have a packed session, so I have to move on to the next slide and switch topics slightly and talk about some other improvements of what we have done to make the Domino server more usable, especially for security reasons. So some enhancements we are going to do in the Domino directory template were requested by our customers out there. For instance, customers requested the ability to create something called an auto-populating group. Auto-populating groups do exist since version 8.5, but it was not possible to create a group based on your custom criteria. And many customers would like to create a group in the Domino directory saying, list all users from the location Moscow, or all users where the last name starts with. And all of these things can be done right now. You see a number of screenshots here. These are all improvements in the Domino directory. One important one is here, this on the top right side, which is the configuration when you select which SSL ciphers are being used in your Domino SSL configuration. You now have the hex code here displayed at the very end, so that you can match this with your node's INI configuration. So quite a number of improvements that will make it easier for an administrator to better configure the server. Talking about administrators, of course, as an administrator, you love to install new servers. You love to spend several hours or even days in, configuring your Domino server, changing the couple of million settings manually. Well, not so much, I think. We all have been there, and we all know Domino is a very secure product if you configure it to be secure. But there are quite a number of settings that you have to get right. And that used to be a problem in Domino. And with version 12, we are going to change this and make it a lot easier for administrators to start up new servers and already have a fully configured server in place. So Domino V12 comes with an auto configuration setup experience. It's a fully automated one-touch scripted setup, which allows to start the Domino server with the name of your choice, including the ID vault configured, including the certificates being generated, and if you want, also using Let's Encrypt. Please come to our session tomorrow, the Domino on Docker session, where we are going to do a couple of demos about this. So you'll see more. Just a small look behind the scenes, how this is all working, because your Domino servers are probably configured slightly different. You have some specific configuration needs. So what you will be able to do in Domino V12 is to describe your Domino server in a file, in a JSON file, that will say, my server name is this, my company name is that, I want to use this host name, this is the password I want to use, and so on and so on. And all you have to do is to say, start my Domino server with this configuration, and voila, it's done. So this is a really great improvement, especially if you're dealing with large Domino environments. This is making administrators happy.
So Thomas, and this is cross-platform, right? So it's not just for Linux, it's not just for Docker, it will be for all platforms.
Yeah. And talking about how to make administrators happy, if you have been configuring a Domino server for being accessed by an HTTP, by a browser, you know that you need to have an SSL certificate on your Domino server. And configuring SSL on your Domino server, well, it was not that easy, because as you can see in this small picture here to the lower left, an administrator had to set a number of configuration parameters in order to configure SSL correctly. Now, with Domino V12, we are introducing an integrated support for Let's Encrypt, which is a free of charge certificate authority. That means you can get free of charge SSL certificates deployed to your Domino server with literally just a click on a button. So you do not need to copy any files to your server. You do not need to create the key ring file yourself. It's just one click. And as you can see here on the top right corner, this feature was requested by a number of customers out there. So in simple terms, this is really just a simplification of the previous chart. What you do is you configure your Domino server to use the Let's Encrypt authority and certificate authority, and then all users out there that use an up-to-date browser will see a trusted SSL certificate being provided by your Domino server. So that, I think, is already a great improvement, because it's simplifying the life of administrators. Let's look behind the scenes, and this is why we have Daniel over here. So Daniel, over to you for the more technical part of the show.
Yeah, maybe you can. No, we start with this slide. No, this is the right slide. So now the next slide already. So we're using the ACME protocol. ACME stands not for the company ACME, but it stands for Automated Certificate Management Environment. And HCL has built their own implementation based on standards like JSON, libcurl, OpenSSL, and nodes cryptographic functions that are in the product, right? So it is designed for automation, as Thomas said, and you will see later in a demo how it works live. And the only thing you need is for the HTTP challenges, for the requests to be performed to verify your server, that you have port 80 open, and later on the SSL port 443. So the first code drop was really to give feedback, but we are way ahead now, and we are almost done. And it's really interesting to see this live and with all the details. And I show later on how we use the PEM formats. So it's moving from the keyring file format to a PEM format, which is a standard text format used all over the place by all the other products. And HCL introduced a new name for the key pair, certificate, and chain to make it easier. So the lead developer came up with the name TLS credentials. That's the new name that you have to learn. So that means the key pair, the certificate, the chain, and the root all together, right? So and Domino 12 will use a new database, the CertStore database, which is a domain-wide secure database that will contain all your certificates and keys, and it will cross-domain replicate. So to give you a little bit more detail here, that's a graphic that shows all the details. So you see the Domino server. It has the CertStore database. It has the Cert Manager task that we will see in a minute. and it has a small DSAPI filter that does the communication between the HTTP task and the cert manager task. The interesting part is the HTTP DSAPI filter and the cert manager task will be able to be on two different servers, and they communicate through the database. So what happens in this flow, when you request a new certificate, you create a request in the cert store database. The server task will send a request to the ACME server. That's step one. It could be over a proxy, which is even an authentication proxy already from the first code drop. The challenge is then sent back over the protocol to the cert manager task. And then the ACME server will do a request to the HTTP server to get that secret that he just passed us, to prove that we are the right server. And then the protocol is used to generate the certificate, and it's downloaded from the ACME server. And then we have the certificate in our database, and the HTTP task will automatically pick up the certificate from that certificate store in the cert store. That's the basic flow. And this was taken from the original design that the developer wrote. So in the standard configuration, both are on the same server. And this is the standard approach that we have today with the beta. But we wanted that admins can use that in their own environments, even release 12 server is not connected to the internet. So this is the simple approach that we just explained in the slide before. So Thomas, if you go ahead to the next more complicated slide. So you see that you can run the cert manager task on a V12 server, and you can have the DSAPI running on an earlier release server, and they both communicate. And that means you could use that already today. And I'm even using that today in my environment with the release 12 server on my notebook. And I can generate production certificates for my machines, right? So Thomas, can you go to the next slide? So what is also implemented already, and the first step was let's encrypt, but the second step, now that everything was in place, HCL said, okay, now we can also use manual certificate operations with all type of certificate providers. And I will show you live in a minute how that works with the Microsoft Certificate Authority running on my environment. So it's basically, you generate a key pair, you generate a certificate signing request, a CSR. It is copied by copy and paste to the certificate authority. And then when the certificate is issued with all the trust certificates, you just literally copying it, pasting it back into the form, and it's automatically processed for you. That's all you need to do. And you will see that in a minute. So what also is already part of this is the subject alternate name. So you can have many different certificates, names in the certificate. Officially supported currently are 40 SAN names, subject alternate names. But the ACME protocol supports up to 100, and this has been already tested, as I heard. So, but you not always want so many different names, and the names, the number of certificates is limited. So there is a second option, which is implemented in the first beta, right? So we are right now at code wraps. Thomas, the next step is the first beta in sometime in January, and then you will see that not only HTTP challenges are supported, as I explained before, but also DNS based challenges, where the secret is stored in a DNS record at your provider that needs a DNS API, and Domino will provide multiple ways to configure and define those APIs and integrate with those providers. And if you have that in place, you can even issue wildcard certificates. So this is from live running code. This is a certificate that I generated yesterday, right? So it's brand new code.
Really, really cool.
So that's not in the beta right now, but this is a little bit of glimpse ahead. So not only that Let's Encrypt is providing the ACME protocol, it's provided by different other systems. So Let's Encrypt themselves, they have testing environments, like you have this Let's Encrypt staging environment, which is the default that is configured when you start. But also there's Boulder and Pebble. Those are more for Let's Encrypt ACME developers. We have Zero SSL that has been tested. We have Bypass, which is another CA. And there is a very interesting project. It's an open source project, and the ACME Small Step CA is a full-blown CA that also supports the ACME protocol, which can be used to generate certificate for your internal deployments. So this could be even a sub-CA of a different CA, for example, a Microsoft CA, and that can be used to automatically generate certificates, trusted certificates inside your environment. So we have some more material beside the Let's Encrypt and ACME protocol. I think, Thomas, we will go over it quickly. We have all the references on those slides. It's the boring cryptographic details that most people will skip. In summary, for the slides that I present here is it's getting more secure. It's getting the latest and greatest ciphers and key support. And this here is support for elliptic curves. Elliptic curves are better in performance because the way they work is that they provide more security with less bits. When you see here, it's 256 bits of ECDSA key is an equivalent to 3072 RSA key. And if you go up, you can go as high as 512, but that is currently not that's supported by Domino, but not currently by the ACME CA. So that is supported in release 12 for all internet protocols, and also the cert manager with the ACME protocol supports it for the account keys.
Yeah. Let me just point out, if you don't get all the technical details, that's just okay for now. There is an a Q&A section that we're going to do in a couple of minutes. So if you have any questions about this, please post your question, and the moderators will be picking up.
Right. Those are the deep crypto technical details. We put them on the slides, but we don't have to go through all details. But one thing is really important. Once you configure it to use the ECDSA key, once that is generated, that internet site already automatically switches to those two ciphers here on the list. So you don't have to configure anything. It will automatically be chosen, and it will just work. We also have two new curves that make it even more performing with the same or better security. And I don't think we need to go into details. There's also a Wikipedia entry here to give you all the details about it, and the configuration is described in the reference below on the screen, already public. Also know that this new cipher, the new curve is available. The lead developer took this and put this into the nodes protocol. So that's brand new in the latest code drop. And it's brand new, and it's going to be tested for performance, but it's planned, if everything goes well, to be the default setting for Domino 12, right? So Thomas, next slide, that we can go to the demos. So I will show in the demo how you can live manually configure your server with a company certificate. This slide is more to give you to remember afterwards what we did. And on top of the functionality, what is also added is it's called certificate health. It will show you if your certificates are good, if they are green, yellow, or red. Red means completely unusable. Yellow would mean like there's something wrong in the chain, or there is maybe the certificate is expiring, and the server, the cert manager, server task will check every 30 minutes if all your certificates are okay, and it will also write statistics into the Domino statistics.
All right, so Daniel, are you all set for giving a small demo on how Let's Encrypt and the Cert Manager work together?
Sure.
All right, so I think you'll need to switch the screens to show
you have
the demo screen.
Unshare.
Yes, yes, and now share yours.
So get me this out of the way. So what I show you first is my console. So what you see here is the latest code drop.
Are you sharing?
I hope so. Now I'm sharing.
Now you do, yes.
So the service already started. Of course, it's running on Docker, and once I'm here, I just take. I started the server task before, but I'm starting it again now because on the first start, the server task, the database is created. I created the database for you because then it's easier to show all the details. So what you start with is an empty database, and what we were going to do is we're going to create a certificate for your server. The database comes with the two accounts, and you see the staging account is already configured. You see that on the log here. So it already has an ACME ID. This is your account ID, and I already accepted the license terms for you. What I'm showing you now is I will use the production environment that is also shipped here, and this, when you do that, you have to accept the license terms because that information is sent to Let's Encrypt with the protocol.
Yeah, let's just make sure we get this right. Of course, this integrates with Let's Encrypt, so the Let's Encrypt terms of services need to be accepted. There is no payment, there is no money transfer, there is no commercial implications. It's just to accept their terms of service.
And it's just the lawyers wanted that we put this on the screen, and even here, and this will also work for all the different providers, the protocol contains a way to get the website and the terms and services. So when you use a different provider, that will also work in the same way, right? So I will show you now how easy it is. So you just start here, you create a new document, we put in a name, you could put in multiple names, you don't have to specify anything else. You could change it to use the ECDSA key, and it will automatically flip. And so we just said we want Let's Encrypt production, and instead of the integration environment, the staging environment, we submit the request, and then you will see here. It will wait 5 seconds until everything is in place.
Can we increase the screen size here a bit.
It's already done.
Oh, okay.
So you see now, the status is okay. It has a green mark saying it's okay. So that's the health check that is already running on the already created certificate. You see the name, you see it is valid. That's another health check here. And then it also generated a keyring file. But the good news is you will not need keyring files for Domino Release 12 servers, because in the internet side, you will be able to specify that the certificate is taken from the certificate store, from the database. You can also go in and look into details. The certificate is here. The private key is going to go away. It's going to be encrypted in the next version. And you have a button to check the certificate details, and you should know this dialog from other places in Domino. And the development team made sure that it will look exactly the same as what you already had, right? So, and this is up and running. So I could go to the web browser and show you in detail. If someone wants to do that, it's live up. We will better show more stuff than show you the web browser, which is kind of boring.
So it means the audience has to trust that it has been installed. Can you show it? I mean, it would be cool to really see that it has been deployed so quickly, because there is a huge difference between what it used to be before and what it is right now.
Oh, something is going wrong with my connection probably here on that machine. So it is there. It is there in place.
I was asking for a demo, and the demo gods were not with us today.
No, so I'm what I want to show you is what we can do, the really cool stuff. So let me show you how easy it is to integrate another provider. So I just said you can create your new documents here. So let's take another one. So let's call it bypass. And it needs their ACME directory URL. We say it's using ECDSA, and they want an email address. Of course, I have now to accept the bypass terms of services. I say save and close. So I have a new document. And Thomas, let's see if the demo gods are really with that, because we just go ahead and say add TL credentials. We say this, we say ECDSA, and we don't use let's script staging. We use bypass now, which we just configured. I submit the request. And it takes the longest time is taking the 5 seconds to ensure that everything is in place. And here you see, I missed the point. I didn't copy their root certificate. So I could have also copied their root certificate, but this shows you that you also get the warnings in here. So it says last cert in chain is not self-signed. So it didn't find a root certificate. This is functional, but it's not fully compliant. So this is where you see the health check working in place, right? And that's what you see here. So you have the bypass, and the root certificate is missing here. So to get this really going, you have to go and get like the bypass trusted root, and you have to store it into the right field here in security keys. It created the new private key, which is an ECDSA key, which is a lot smaller than the RSA key, and you would put the certificate the root certificate in here, and it will be automatically used. So that's the Let's Encrypt demo. And let's go one step ahead. So you say you're in a corporate environment and you can't use Let's Encrypt, Thomas, right? So within HCL, probably there's no way to get an outside connection for all the servers, and you guys want to use your internal CA. And let's do something new. So we do add a TLS certificate, and we call it www.iris.com. That should be still around. We don't use the ACME protocol, we use manual. And now we want ECDSA key again. We call the keyring file Thomas. And now we say it's Notes Lab and it's in Germany, and that's all we need here. And usually this already needed OpenSSL to create a private key and a signing request. Let's see what happens. You say submit, and you see, and this icon we're going to change because they didn't have a new icon for that. It says, hello, I want some attention. You have to do something. So you open the document and you will see we already have a new key get generated for you automatically. And in the manual tab, you have the CSR already in place. And you don't have to switch even to this tab. You just go and say, copy CSR. So it's copied to your clipboard. And then you go to the provider of your choice. In this case, I'm using a Microsoft CA. It is configured to automatically get the certificate issued. Usually it is a multi-step process where it needs to be confirmed and so on. So I submit the request, and you see I automatically got the certificate. I choose base64. I download the certificate. It did it already. So you open it in an editor here. And I already have my trusted root here. So I put both together. This is usually what you get from your provider. And then, Thomas, what would you expect? What should I do? Should I just paste it in?
Of course, I expect perfect functionality, pasting it in, and it will hopefully just work.
Okay, paste it in. Okay, let's do that. Oh, it wants me to submit the request again. Okay, let's do that. And done. Oh, we got a certificate. It's a fully trusted certificate. And you can check the certificate details. And it just worked.
Wow. So you just connected the Domino server, your internal Domino server, with your internal company internal certificate authority, and issued a fully trusted, locally issued SSL certificate. So how long did it take? Less than a minute if you just copy and paste?
Yeah, you have to get things in place, but it's really, really easy. And you can make all the configuration in one form. You don't have to jump forth and back. It's done all automatically. So it's all, you saw that the copy CSR and paste certificate, it didn't show up before, right? So there's also one additional trick. If you have an internal CA that already generates the private key and the actually the key pair for you, you can paste not only the certificate chain in here, you could post here the chain with the key already, and then that would be a one-step process.
All right.
So that's the demo. So I could show you around in the database forever. It has all the details. It's already sort of production ready, even this is still a code drop, and you can expect more functionality in here. It's not done yet. So And I can show you I'm using that live in production. So on my machine, I'm using that already. Even my server is an older server. I use that for my server, and you see my website. Some of you might know the website, the blog, and I have a SAN name for mail, for the website, for the blog, and for my server itself. So it's all there, and it's using this keyring file.
And I think the good news is that when using Let's Encrypt, it does auto renew the certificates, because
Yes.
that's an important piece of information, because Let's Encrypt is expiring the certificate after, what was it, 90 days. And for a Domino administrator, it was quite some work to renew the certificates manually. Now, with this being fully automated, it really is a great improvement for all the admins out there who want to make the Domino server more secure.
So I can tell you, the certificate also expiration is shown here on the screen directly, so in the view. And as soon you can configure how many days before the expiration the automatic renewal should happen. And this can be even configured in the global settings. In the global settings, you have the default configuration that is automatically pre-filled when you create a new certificate. So today it's RSA, but in future you might want to choose ECDSA. And you can make all those defaults, and the next time you create a certificate,
Yeah.
it will just, it's all well done already.
So there is quite some interesting features to be looking forward for V12. But the audience might ask, what comes next? I mean, what are our thoughts on how to improve this further, and how can you then upgrade to V12? This is probably worth another presentation. Just for the sake of time, I think we wanted to do a little Q&A. So thanks for this demo, Daniel. So let me see. Do we have Vlad on? Vlad, are you on? Can you relay to the question and answer section?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Thomas, for a great presentation. I think security is very important for everybody who runs Domino. And yes, we have some questions from audience. First, Thomas, I think it's more to you. Do we plan to write new books about Domino, something like Red Book?
We want to do more education, that's correct, but printed books, I don't think we are going to see in the near future. And that is for the simple reason that the methodology has changed. I mean, people now want to get information much more quickly. And when information needs to be updated, it's of course hard to update a printed book that you have at home, but we can update online training material. So clearly, this is an initiative that my colleague Louis Girgay is running. It's the Digital Solutions Academy that is going to provide a number of blog posts, videos, training material, certification material for how to get started with the products, how to implement them, how to use them appropriately, but also going into the very specific details, like, for instance, SSL configuration, as we have just seen. So yes, you can expect more. You can expect more material to be provided, but honestly, do not expect printed books anytime soon.
I think we can add that there is a great resource, planetlotus.org, where Daniel's blog, where your Thomas blog is aggregated, and also a Twitter, because I think a lot of HCL ambassadors, they are sharing, latest stuff. It's more blog style, because you're right completely that people wants to get it really fast, up to date now. We have one more question in regards to security. do we plan to have something for like two-factor, but for Nodes client to avoid password in Nodes ID? So do we have any plans in this area?
Well, clearly, yes. Well, I need to explain a little bit more. First of all, the Nodes client is already having like something that you can call two-factor authentication, because in the Nodes client, you need to have your Nodes ID file. You need to have it. It's not enough just to type your username. You need to have the ID file and your password. And secondly, I need to say that you can already now configure your Nodes client to be completely passwordless. So you can get rid of the Nodes password by using Nodes shared login or configuring SAML in the Nodes client. But yeah, I have heard that a number of customers would like to strengthen the authentication in the Nodes client even more by adding two-factor authentication to the Nodes client. Yes, that's on the roadmap. Yes, we are planning to do this, but I don't want to confirm when this is going to be implemented. For now, the first foremost priority is the two-factor authentication on the server side, and then we are going to look at the client side as well.
And also, we already have Nodes shared login, right? Which allows you a kind of single sign-on.
Yeah, it's worked like a charm, and I think the shared login is just one setting policy and one radio button, and
it's now working on Citrix as well, depending on your configuration. If you have profile roaming on Citrix, it will also work since 11.01.
That's very important to point out, because a number of customers want to provide a single sign-on experience in Citrix. And this used to be done with, what's it called? The Nodes single login feature. This is a very old feature that synchronizes the password from your local computer into your Nodes client. But Nodes shared login provides the much better user experience, because you can change your Windows password and there is no impact to the single sign-on capabilities. And in Citrix, as Daniel just said, you just need to enable two Nodes INI variables in order to make it work under Citrix. For more details, there is a tech note about it, and of course we can help out in providing you with this link.
And since the Nomad is also very hot topic, now HCL just released a cool biometric identification, so Face ID. And can we wait something for Nodes client, so biometric stuff for Nodes as well?
Well, then, of course, the question is, does your desktop have a camera? Does your desktop have a secure biometric authentication capabilities? What Nomad on the smartphones and mobile devices is doing is to leverage the underlying device capabilities. For a desktop, that's a way different story, because not all computers where Nodes is installed have this capability. There is a difference on what operating system you run, what hardware you have attached. So yeah, we have this on our backlog, but it's a bit more challenging.
So the Mac would be a first candidate, probably, right?
Indeed. So I would like to point out, if you have any interest in getting this done, please go to our ideas portal, domino.ideas.aha.io, and provide this idea as an input or vote for this existing idea, so that we can hear your voice and prioritize its implementation.
Yeah, thank you. And we have one more question, maybe not really related to security, but the transition of all documentation of all forums from IBM. Is it done already? Is it still in process? We are kind of finishing this.
Oh, okay. That's a slightly different question. Okay, to explain, there have been a number of forums, product-related support forums on the IBM website, where IBM employees have provided technical guidance, description, like product documentation, and also the community has provided input, has provided questions and answers to various parts of the product portfolio. And these forums have been taken over to HCL, but for legal reasons, we had to clear intellectual property. So that means these forums, an archive of these forums have been posted, but all names had to be removed, certain content had to be removed. So it's now available. And I think I have to look for the website for the full URL of where to access these old product forums, but they are taken over, but not with all the content, simply for legal reasons.
So also, Thomas, the tech notes and everything, it took a while until it was there. So I personally, as an ambassador, worked with someone from support, from the team, getting things improved, like getting the search better, getting all the data in. So they had some time and they needed re-indexing, and the system that they use, it's not Notes. Sadly, it's not Notes, but they can't use it because it's a corporate policy to do that all in one system. It's really improving, and they went through a re-indexing some weeks ago, but now it should be fine, and you should be able to find things also on Google. So it's on their radar. I worked with the team. They assured me that they're working really hard on it, and they took over all tech notes and everything from IBM. What you should do is you should go always into the search portal when you search something directly into the knowledge base. You should go into the database directly, right?
Thanks a lot.
So, yeah. Okay. Yeah. And yeah, by the way, Vlad, we should provide you with the link on where to find the old forums.
I have one, so I will share it with participants. We have another session in 2 minutes. So again, thank you for your awesome presentation. Thanks you, Thomas, shown in the morning with HCL Safe links. Just another thing that extends security. Thanks again, Daniel, Thomas. Yeah, it was
so if you have questions afterwards, send us emails, go to my blog. So we are there all the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
one. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.